Is Vecna secretly Eleven's father on Stranger Things? Something stranger this way, things, fellow Hawkins heads. The supersized fourth season of Stranger Things has come to a conclusion with Volume 2's arrival on Netflix on Friday. And it's helping fans come to some shocking conclusions about their favorite characters as well. Case in point, one of the most enduring theories this season revolves around Eleven and her connection to Vecna. One theory posits that they might be even closer than you think. So close, in fact, that they're actually father and daughter. And if you thought this show had daddy issues before, well, buckle up, because we're about to break down the Vecna is Eleven's father theory. But in order to do so, we have to spoil what happened in Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. So if you're not up to date yet and you're worried about that sort of thing, leave now before it's too late.
It's time.
Okay, let's get into it, shall we? While Eleven has called people like Hopper and Dr. Brenner Papa at various points in her life, neither is her actual biological father. The mystery of Eleven's parentage was a major driving force for the series. Eleven learned the terrible truth about her biological mother, Terry Ives, and what happened to her back in Season 2, but her father's identity has remained a question mark until now, at least according to many fan theorists out there, including Nerdist's own Michael Walsh. Now, according to this theory, Eleven wasn't just cruelly taken away from her mother to be part of Dr. Brenner's psychic daycare. Rather, he effectively genetically engineered Eleven by having Henry Creel/Vecna conceive a child with Terry Ives. If it sounds horrifying, well, that is the appropriate reaction to this theory, but it also gives new context to why Eleven refers to Dr. Brenner as a monster in Stranger Things 4's finale, The Piggyback. It also fits in with the larger Star Wars-inspired storytelling that we've seen this season. There was a major homage to The Empire Strikes Back this season. When Eleven left her training with Dr. Brenner to go save her friends before she was ready, it echoed Luke Skywalker leaving Yoda before he was ready to go save his friends from Darth Vader in Cloud City. Now, this theory's been around since Stranger Things 4 Volume 1, and the folks at the Just the Nobodies podcast did a tremendous job at breaking down the supposed timeline of events. So definitely check out their video when you get the chance, and I will link to that in the description below. So here's what we know to be true. In 1969, Terry Ives was a college student who took part in the MK Ultra experiments administered by Dr. Brenner at the Hawkins National Laboratory. These Cold War-era experiments were designed to test mind control techniques for use against America's enemies, i.e. those pesky Soviets.
I gotta hand it to you commies. You're committed.
Now, unbeknownst to Terry, she was actually pregnant during the time of these experiments, and the toll they took on her body is believed to have helped contribute to Eleven's immense psychic ability. Terry eventually gave birth to Eleven in June 1971, and that means that she very likely got pregnant in 1970 during the same time period as the experiments. During this time, Dr. Brenner had been trying repeatedly to find someone as powerful as Henry Creel, but to no avail. And despite taking children 2 through 10 under his weird wing, their successes never quite matched Henry's. According to this theory, Brenner believed the best way to ensure he would have a test subject as powerful as Henry was to have Henry father a child. That way Brenner could take the child, control it, and mold it into a living weapon of his very own. As Henry says in The Massacre at Hawkins' lab, when Papa realized he could not control me, he tried to recreate me. He began a program, and soon others were born. You were born. And I'm so glad you were, Eleven, so very glad. And yes, that has shades of the villain monologuing, but there could be a hidden truth to it as well. Based on the timeline of events, we know that Henry was 12 years old when he massacred his family at the Creel house in 1959. By the time Eleven is born, he would be 24 years old, which would make him approximately the same age as Eleven's mother, Terry. And by this time, Brenner had already installed the Soteria device into Henry's neck, effectively turning him into a prisoner. And as one of Brenner's MK Ultra test subjects, he was likely able to exert untoward control over Terry as well, especially if she was under the influence of powerful psychedelics. It would also explain why Brenner is so confident in Eleven's psychic potential. As we learned in the Season 2 episode Dig Dug, Eleven saw how Brenner not only stole Terry's baby, but convinced everyone else that she had miscarried. When Terry broke into the Hawkins lab years later to try and rescue Eleven, she was given electroshock therapy until she entered a vegetative state. This is the same punishment that was administered to Henry after he helped Eleven to try and tap into her powers. So why would Brenner punish Henry for helping Eleven? They both want the same thing, Eleven to get more powerful. What if Brenner was worried that Henry might tell Eleven the truth? So while Henry definitely exploited Eleven's naivete in the season 4 episode The Massacre at Hawkins' Lab, he also seems to take a genuinely special interest in her. This could simply be a matter of Machiavellian machination, but if the two are father and daughter, then maybe he's pushing her to her full potential because deep down, he cares in his own misanthropic, murdery way.
Like I said, we're alike. You and I.
It also adds yet another layer to when Vecna tells Eleven that he originally wanted her by his side when he executed his evil plan in the season finale. Much like Darth Vader trying to recruit his secret son Luke to the dark side so they could rule the galaxy, Vecna perhaps wanted his unwitting daughter to help him use their special abilities to conquer all those who stood in their way. And given how Vecna has repeatedly talked about how much he hates the rest of mankind, the fact that he still wanted Eleven by his side speaks volumes. I mean, this is the guy who murdered basically every other person around him except for Eleven. It would also add another element of poignancy to their inevitable final showdown in Stranger Things Season 5. But something tells me we probably won't see Vecna shoulder press an old man and yeet him into an abyss. Now, there is some evidence to the contrary where this theory is concerned. According to the 2019 Stranger Things prequel novel Suspicious Minds by Gwenda Bond, Eleven's real father was a man named Andrew Rich. After protesting President Nixon and the Vietnam War, he was arrested and summarily expelled from school. As it turns out, Dr. Brenner actually arranged for Andrew to not only get expelled from college, but drafted into the army. Andrew later died in battle in Vietnam, and apparently he was unaware that Terry, his girlfriend, was pregnant with their incredibly powerful psychic daughter. It's unclear if this novel is considered official canon, but it certainly seems that way, at least based on the marketing materials. And the timeline does get kinda kooky here because Eleven was either born in 1970 or 1971, depending on which sources you trust, but if we're operating under the assumption that Eleven was born in June 1971 and Andrew was arrested for protesting in November 1970, then he theoretically could have been shipped out before Terry learned that she was pregnant. The timeline makes sense, at least as far as that's concerned. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything we know about the theory that Vecna is secretly Eleven's dad. And while I like aspects of this theory, I do feel like the fact that Eleven and Vecna have this shared tragic origin of being exploited by Dr. Brenner, that is enough to bind them together without bringing a secret family tie into the equation. Both of them found a unique way to gain greater strength. Vecna did so by rejecting mankind, but Eleven did so by embracing it. They are two ends of this psychic spectrum, and their showdown is going to be one for the ages, regardless of any paternity tests. For now, though, we'll just have to wait and see if the Duffer Brothers answer Arnold Schwarzenegger's immortal question from Kindergarten Cop.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
With that said, we'll have plenty of other deep dives into Stranger Things just waiting for you over on Nerdist in the days ahead. In the meantime, though, tell us, what did you think of this season? What do you think of this theory? And what's your biggest prediction for Season 5?
That mind fight is on!
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.